Before we start today's video, brain scratchers, we need your help. You might remember a few weeks ago on the last episode of Searchlight, we did the case of Jessie Rubio Montejano. Brittany, her sister, has reached out to the detective working Jessie's case, and effectively he has agreed to come on Brittany's channel. So let's take a look here. Brittany Jewell posted 4 hours ago. The detective working Jessie's case said he would be honored to come on my YouTube channel and answer reasonable questions. Of course, Jessie's case is still open. I was nervous to ask him, but I'm so happy he agreed. All questions have to be approved before he can come on though. So message me, comment any questions you may have. I want to send Brittany some really well thought questions, and I need your help to do that. If you haven't watched the episode yet, I'll have a link to it in the description box below. Please watch the episode. Let me know your questions on this video. I need you to leave a comment on this video with the things that you want to run by the detective working this case. I've got a few that I'm already working on, but I really want to make sure that we get kind of a good group think going on with this topic and get Brittany some of the best questions we can. I know the detective's going to have to be careful about what they choose to answer, but hopefully in that will help Brittany get out some more details, maybe raise a little more exposure and help move this case forward. So please take a moment, check out that video, come back to this one, leave it in the comments down below. But now we've got another case to talk about, a very important Searchlight update. Thank you for joining me on today's Searchlight update. My name is John Lorden. I really appreciate you being here and caring about these cases like I do. We originally covered the case of Caleb Diehl a few years ago, and even when I was originally looking into it, there was a lot of very strong warning flags that this is a case that involves some level of foul play. And talking to numerous families, I could tell you there's all kinds of different places where they get stuck in terms of having a missing loved one. Of course, there's the obvious, where is the person that I care so much about? But there's also other steps in terms of if justice is required for what happened to them, there's different stopgaps that can happen around that as well. If families think that someone's responsible for taking their loved one away, there's a lot of cases where they're not able to do anything to make sure that that doesn't happen to someone else by that same person. Every now and then we get these very unique situations where sometimes law enforcement is able to file some charges, not directly about an abduction, if that's truly what happened, but circumstances around that might be factors in that abduction. And that's what we've got here today with Caleb's case. So let's do just a quick little refresh on what this case is about. We're going to stop at thecharlieproject.org. Here's several pictures of Caleb. And we can see he went missing at the age of 18 from Nocona, Texas. Diehl was last seen in Nocona, Texas on March 30th, 2015. At the time of his disappearance, he was visiting his mother in Nocona and had a part-time job there. His own vehicle was in the repair shop. So Diehl borrowed a pickup truck from his employer, Ricky Dale Howard. And here's a picture of him right up here. He used that to go to another job. Howard was also a good friend of Diehl's family. Diehl never returned to his mother's home that night. The truck he was driving was found, now interestingly it says abandoned, I'm not sure if that's exactly the right word, but it was found back where it belongs actually, at Ricky Dale Howard's home. The keys for it hanging on their usual hook. Howard has a prior criminal record, and we won't go into all the details, but there's a lot of different stuff that he has in terms of criminal record, but some of it very concerning, related to possible abuse of children. And that seems to be paralleling kind of what we were afraid of in the case of Caleb's disappearance. And we're now getting some additional detail. Those fears might have been justified. Over at timesrecordsnews.com, person of interest in Caleb Diehl's disappearance, charged by feds. And this article is from February of 2021. Years before Caleb's disappearance, Ricky Dale Howard is suspected of making sexual images of a 13 to 15-year-old boy. He was arrested February 12th. A federal judge has ordered Howard held without bail on a charge of sexual exploitation of a minor, according to court documents. Written by an FBI special agent, the complaint gave this account. An 18-year-old went missing March 30th, 2015 from Nocona. I think we know who that is. It's obviously talking about Caleb. An investigation by the Montague County District Attorney's Office and the Sheriff's Office identified Howard as one of the last people to communicate with the teenager. Warning signs we already knew about, but now it's coming together with this new information. Around October 25th, 2017, DA's investigators obtained a gateway desktop computer belonging to Howard. The North Texas Regional Computer Forensics Laboratory in Dallas found about 300 images of child pornography on the computer. The lab also found a number of images of the 18-year-old, of Caleb, as a minor on the computer. Keep in mind, this is a guy that was a family friend. He had been around that family for years. So it seems like things between him and Caleb were happening back in Caleb's teen years. While none of these images are pornography, there are some taken over several years of him in various stages of undress. Montague County investigators seized an Acer laptop, which had been owned by Howard around September 18th, 2018. A little bit of an interesting story with that laptop. It was actually given to, I believe, his sister to use for some business aspect, like for tracking some of something to do with their, I think their oil fields or other investments that they had like that. And it's an interesting thing we're going to get to in another article, just about the fact that that laptop actually wound up in a different state. And of course, when we're talking about federal charges, that brings its own different implications. Family members of Howard and the missing 18-year-old confirmed their identities in photos where faces are visible. So they took literally some of these photos that were found on the computer, showed them to family members on both sides. Family members said, yep, that's Ricky Dale Howard. Yep, that's Caleb Diehl in those photos. The teenager's family estimated him to be approximately 13 to 15 years old when the images were made. The missing 18-year-old's family confirmed he routinely visited Howard, including from the ages of 13 to 15, because the families and children were close friends. In addition, family members of both Howard and the missing teen confirmed the images showed a couch in a camper trailer owned by Howard and parked on his property during that time. So not only do they identify the two, they identify the location where this is happening as well. The FBI agent believes Howard committed sexual exploitation of a child. There's probable cause that Howard had the boy take part in sexual acts to make illegal images using a computer produced with materials from interstate commerce. Once again, whenever we talk about FBI or federal level involvement, there's always this kind of contingency that comes up that if it crosses state lines, because basically at that point you don't have it confined to a particular jurisdiction, and that kind of raises it to the federal level. I've never heard it be used in this instance where they're talking about it's using a computer and that computer was produced with materials from interstate commerce. That's kind of an interesting twist. I wonder how many different crimes I can think of where there might be an item that was in some form transferred from one state to the other. And it doesn't necessarily fall under a federal level. It's kind of a strange phrasing, but certainly the fact that those photos were stored on this computer, then sent to a different state. I mean, then you're talking about, you know, criminal materials essentially being moved from one state to the other, which that's what the next statement says. Howard sent the images on the computer from Texas to Tennessee. Howard was due to get out of state prison this year after serving 5 years for 11 counts of possession of a firearm by a felon. He pleaded guilty in 2016. So that kind of ties back to a bit of Caleb's investigation. If I recall correctly, they actually searched Ricky Dale Howard's home, and that's when they found numerous weapons. And because he was already a previously convicted felon, he wasn't supposed to have those weapons. So they charged him. This article is leaving it out, but I believe that he was actually either released or scheduled to be released in the middle of February, right around the same time all this is dropping. So I don't know if they kind of had this ready to go. And as soon as they heard that he was going to be released, I think he was going to be released on probation, that they all of a sudden sprung these new charges and kind of said, hey, turn him back around, and or you know, we're picking him up. He's going to a different holding facility now. So essentially, he served all that time. Now he's got these new charges, very serious charges aimed at him. Howard also faces a host of state allegations that he habitually sexually preyed on children. So I am seeing some language around this that it might not just be Caleb. There might be some other children that are involved in this as well. Meanwhile, Caleb's family and friends are left in the dark about his fate. And even if they make the assumption, which, you know, I don't think it's hard for us to imagine at this point, you know, Caleb is turning 18. Was there some type of threat to Howard? Did he tell him, I'm going to tell people about what you did to me as a kid? Even if you come to some form of conclusion about Caleb's fate, we still don't know where he is. The family still hasn't been given a chance to really have a memorial and to mourn that loss. There's still all these things that haven't happened for this family yet. Could this possibly be a path towards that? I really hope so for them. Over at TimesRecordNews.com, federal magistrate Judge Hal R. Ray Jr. found that there was probable cause to show Howard, 59, committed the offenses alleged in the FBI agent's complaint. So this is about a month later. They had a little bit of a preliminary trial where some of the key information is shown to the judge, and the judge says, yes, we've got enough here to continue with this process. FBI Special Agent Clay Howerton testified by video conference. He testified a computer with deleted images of illegal sex was used by Howard's daughter in Tennessee. So I might have had that incorrect. I think I said sister earlier. It's actually Howard's daughter that was sent the laptop. When those documents are deleted, they're not actually deleted from the hard drive, said the investigator. Instead, they go to an unallocated storage space that can be written over, he testified. I don't know if that's going to change any of the conditions in terms of this being illegal materials that are moved interstate. If they were effectively deleted, but they were recoverable on the hard drive, I don't know the legal implications if that changes any of it. What it certainly doesn't change is what they're finding in terms of the truth, that there are more crimes around this case. They're at least able to start taking a shot at prosecuting some of those crimes. And I'm really hoping that in that there might be some opportunity, and I don't know if this is necessarily with a plea deal or some type of reduction in sentence for him, but some opportunity for this family to be given answers specifically about where Caleb is. Or is Howard going to keep tight-lipped on that? Because essentially if he gives up that information, this isn't the end of his charges. He's then facing some form of, at a minimum, you know, he's possibly moving a corpse. At a maximum, we could be talking about full-blown murder charges. So I'm going to be very curious to see where this goes from here, but kind of interesting that we originally had this kind of unrelated charge that put him in prison in terms of the weapons that are found. Now we've got a little bit more of a directly related charge because some of these pictures are of Caleb, and I'm hoping that we're just seeing this as a trend. If Howard is our main guy, and it's very hard to not think that with the conditions that we're talking about in this case. Last one to have seen him. The truck somehow magically reappears at his home. The keys magically reappear on the hook where they're supposed to be. Now photos being found on a computer that used to belong to him. It's like we've got the motive before we actually have the crime. I'm hoping more than anything that the answer comes for this family. But outside of that, once that answer comes, I'm pretty sure that there's another bit of work to get to justice for this case that needs to happen. So it looks like we're on that path. I'm just hopeful that it continues. But let me know what you guys think. Let's talk about it in the comments down below. And as always, I ask that we please remain respectful. Obviously, an extremely sensitive case, an extremely sensitive topic. And there's always a very good chance that a family member is going to come across your comments. So let's be sure that the information is helpful and can really help them in terms of understanding this, coming to grips with this, or considerations that maybe could help them in their own personal search for truth or the search for justice that it looks like we're heading towards on this. So thank you guys for that. Take care, everyone. I'll see you back here on Friday with a brand new case on BrainScratch Searchlight right here on the Lord and Arts channel.